Okay, problem solved. Using a mirror didn't work. It just showed it in the same direction. But I do have this little camera that I took a picture of this page, and after that, when I pulled it up, I just turned it like you can turn a picture all the way any direction with the camera's properties. It allows you to do that. So I turned this page upside down, right side up. I feel like God, turning things inside out and outside in, upside down, right side. In a way, you could say this is sort of like something that you could look at like where God's doing this. We have all these properties that God has. We just got to learn how to use them. Anyway, so I shall read this one page now, and I think after that the rest of them will be in the right direction. Curvature is also polarized. 39. There are two opposed systems of curvature within wave fields. One system of curvature produces spheroidal pressure gradients around north and south poles, which makes of each pole a gravitative and radiative center. The other system of curvature produces spheroidal pressure gradients around east and west poles. These cause gravitative and radiative centers to form between north-south poles and unite divided pairs into one. Pressure gradients act like lenses in the bending of radii, inward or outward, in accord with the direction of motion. Through convex or concave curvature. This is too vast a subject for further expansion here, but diagrams from the Russell Home Study course will more fully explain it. Every condition of matter is dependent upon its opposite condition. 40. Polarity creates moving body forms in pairs of opposites and places the opposite of each pair on opposite sides of a mutual equator. It likewise makes each mate so dependent on the other that neither one could survive without the constant interchange. No living body could survive without receiving its inward breath from its spatial counterpart, nor could the spatial mate survive without the outbreathing of its opposite body to recharge it. Nor could any living thing exist without interchanging with its root mate. Neither tree, which is attached to its roots, nor man, who is not attached but equally depends upon interchange with them, could exist without the other. The dry cell could not maintain its condition without interchange with its opposite on the other side of the equator. To charge one charges both alike. To discharge one means death for both alike. Every sun has its equal and opposite mate in a black vacuous hole on the other side of its equator. The sun is compressed into greater vitality by the coldness which feeds it from its expanded black hole mate. Conversely, the black hole is expanded into greater vitality by the heat which feeds it from the sun. Thus the cycle is completed by this interchange. Sequentially, the black vacuous hole will become the sun, and the sun will become a black vacuous hole. Vibrating matter, the root principle of atomic structure. 41. The A string of a harp is silent because it is not in motion. If you pluck it, you will set it in motion. By doing so, you have created a material body of sound by producing motion. The sound body which you have created by the energy of desire extended from your mind into matter is the tone of A. The reason you have produced the tone of A is because the wire was electrically conditioned to produce that tone. If you tighten the wire, thus changing its pressure condition, you produce the tone of B. By repeatedly contracting the wire by tightening it, you can produce a whole octave of increasingly higher tones. Conversely, a whole octave of, and now let me switch back, oh dear, get past this upside down page. A whole octave of lowering tones can be produced. Wait a minute, let me get this camera focused and bring it up a notch. Where's my plug? There it is. Okay. The same wire can produce many tonal sounds. It produces different tones by changing the condition of the wire. The change is a difference of compression or expansion. 42. The birth of any body from its fulcrum zero to its zero of maturity and back again to its fulcrum is a cycle. Cycles of wave vibrations in an electric current or in a musical note, where the vibrations are so fast that the sound is heard as a continuous tone, are known as wave frequencies. The high frequencies of the tone of a harp string are too fast for the ear to hear the growth of that tone from its birth to its maturity and back again. The ear hears only the fully grown matured tone repeated in hundreds of cycles in 1 second without being aware of the growth of hundreds of bodies through whole life cycles from birth to death. For this reason, we do not think of a sound as a body as we think of a man, tree, or bird as being a body. It is a body, however, just as a man is a body, for it is motion, and all motion is material body. We have many years to witness the many changes in a man's life cycle. We even have periods of many years, each of witnessing different stages of that growth, such as the childhood period, then the boy, the young man, the mature man, then the aging man, and the very old man. Every creating body progresses through these periods of growth from birth to death, whether that body is 100 millionth of a second cycle of a high-frequency electric current, or an 80-year cycle of a man, or a million billion year cycle of a sun. There is no difference except in time. 43. One can better comprehend the meaning of this ideal by taking a slow motion sound film of the harp string tone of A. By so doing, we lengthen the life cycle of the sound body to 1 cycle in 60 seconds, instead of 1 cycle in a 3 or 400th part of a second. Now can you witness the growth of that tonal body from its infancy to its old age? You will first hear a faint low sound, which is no more like the full-grown tone of A than a baby is like a full-grown man. Gradually, it grows through its early stages toward maturity, and the sound you hear is like a siren growing ever more shrill until the fully grown tone of A is reached at its maturity. If you could see that body, it would be a true sphere in form, compressed into a very small space at the very middle of the extended harp string. It would be the center of gravity for the wave field, created by dividing the equilibrium of silence into a conditioned state of motion. The rest of the wave field would be empty space of millions of times greater volume. Its pole of rotation and the axis connecting the two magnetic north-south poles would coincide and would be parallel to the harp string vibrating axis. Its equator would be 90 degrees from that axis. Gradually you would see that sphere flatten and throw off rings from its equator, and you would hear that siren tone in reverse until you could no longer hear it. Motion has ceased by withdrawing into its silent source. We do not say it is dead, for we know it will be repeated on the other side of its equator instantly. We say that a man is dead because the time interval between repetitive cycles is so long that we do not realize that the law of repetitive vibrations is the same for all cycles, nor do we realize that all cycles are alike, in the fact that they grow to maturity and die, in order that they may be reborn to again live and die. The space which surrounded the sound sphere has swallowed it up. The sun turns inside out to become space, and space turns inside out. No, inside in. Wait a minute. Let me read this again. The sun turns inside out to become space, and space turns outside in to become the sun on the other side of the wave axis. You again hear the siren growth of the tone of A. 44. If we now speed up the cycles of man to as many frequencies as the tone of A, all we could see of his cycle would be the matured man. We could not see the childhood, boyhood, or manhood stages of his cycle. Instead of seeing the matured man of one cycle, we would see hundreds of matured cycles of that same man without being able to see the changing stages of any of the cycles. Number 45, if we likewise speed up the growing cycles of the stars in the heavens, we would see them come and go like fireflies flashing in the meadow. Their tens of billions of years' duration is just a difference in the timing of their cycles, but the principle of growth and decay is identical in every state of motion created to manifest every ideal in creation. The answer to that is polarity. Polarity is expressed in waves. Waves have dimensions. Time is a dimension. It takes time to create a wave, for a wave is a cycle which has a seeming beginning and ending. The time cycles for reproduction of electric thought waves are constant, but the time periods of life-death cycles vary as thought waves accumulate into cycles upon cycles of formed bodies of sound, or of insects, animals, men, trees, suns, or nebulas. Herein lies the solution of the mystery of growth and decay, of life and death, which has been deemed insoluble during all the ages of man. Life and growth are thought waves multiplied by time, while decay and death are time divided into voidance. The whole universe is but a projection of mind ideal into a three-dimensional universe of thought wave time sequences from the universal zero of rest, followed by avoidance of that projection by a withdrawal within the universal zero of rest. The mystery of growth and decay and of life and death. 46. Man conceives the ideal of life and death of his body as a beginning and ending of the idea of himself. Back of that concept is the belief that his body is himself. There is no beginning or ending of any effect in nature, for there is no beginning or ending of cause. Cause is eternal. Effect is eternally repeated. Man's body is an eternally repeated effect of its cause, which is eternal man. Man is an ideal, a part of the one whole eternal ideal. Ideal is unchanging. Bodies alone change. Ideal is never created. Bodies alone are created to manifest ideal. All bodies are sequential repetitions of effects. All effects in nature rise from the zero of eternal rest to manifest idea through action. They do this for a period of time, then they lie down to rest before again going into action. There is no exception to this principle in all the universe of mighty stars and microscopic particles. All actions of all bodies are always under the control of mind, which cause them. Bodies have no power to move through their own initiative, for they have no energy or initiative of their own. Initiative is extended to bodies by the universal mind, which controls them. Even though this treatise is for the purpose of explaining the mechanics and processes made use of by mind to create matter, we must not for a moment forget the reality of mind, nor the illusion of matter. In continuing, therefore, to explain nature's methods of unfolding bodies from their soul seed ideal into form, and refolding the records of these forms into their soul seed ideal, we should cultivate the realization that we are dealing with thought wave patterns of idea and not with substance or matter.